I'm surprised this team
that.
was 7. It's the Houston Texans.
I
had them higher. Yeah, no, I didn't have them at 7.
No, I didn't have them at 2.
I know.
They were like
I'm
5,
trolling.
6.
They were 5 to me. They were number 5.
They were in this. I forgot where
I had them pretty
I might have had them at 7.
I had them at 8.
I had them
Okay,
pretty
that makes
nastily
sense.
high.
My concern with them is still their offensive line. That's obviously my big concern. That being said, this offense should be fire. It proved to not be a huge issue for CJ Stroud last year, as he was this meticulous with his decision making. Now you have Tank Dell back. Of course, Stephon Diggs gets added into this lineup. You have Dalton Schultz, who's one of the for sure tight ends, on top of Nico Collins, to me being a fringe top 10 wide receiver in this league. You bring in Joe Mixon, who obviously can do the job both as a receiving and a running back. But on the defensive side, you bring in Daniel Hunter. You do have, of course, Derek Stingley, who's one of the more exciting younger corners. Maybe safety could be the big concern for them. Bringing Shahir, if I'm not mistaken, Al-Shahir from the Titans over. That was a huge addition for their linebacking core. You, of course, have the reigning defensive rookie of the year in Will Anderson. I like this team. There's not much to dislike. My only issue is that I just look at a couple other squads in front of them and think, I need to see it before I put them immediately with the rest of these guys, more so on the defensive side, because I saw the Ravens destroy them, dismantle them. Yeah. Danielle Hunter, opposite side of Will Anderson.
The Ravens destroyed almost everybody last year.
It's fair.
They destroyed the Niners.
And the Texans did destroy the Browns, which was huge. I have no concerns about their offense. 0. However, against an elite offense, we did see the Texans not step up to the task.
Tank Dell wasn't there.
And neither was Stephon Diggs. But again, I saw them torch, on paper, the best defense in football in the Browns. But when you went up against the actual best defense in the Baltimore Ravens, you didn't step up to the plate.
I think for me, Houston, it's not like the offensive line is a work in progress. I think for me, it's more that year 2 vibe. Like you had your year 1, CJ Stroud came in, D'Amico Ryans, you kind of like took the league by storm, right? So now it's a year of film on you. It's that year 2 to kind of remember the Jaguars had all those expectations after the playoff game. They were supposed to run the division, come in, and then they had their little start, and then they got injured, banged up, and stuff like that. Not the same situation, but to say there's a lot of hype around Houston, and it's warranted. They had a great offseason. They have a lot of young talent around them. But will the hype be too much for them? Which I don't think it will. But I think that's what's the word I want to use? That is a
expectation.
That's a fear expectation. Is the hype legit, or was it just false? Like, was it something that they weren't prepared for? Because they did get Danielle Hunter. They brought him in. They brought in Stephon Diggs. They made moves to kind of, like we like to say, put a great team around their quarterback on a rookie deal, and that's one of the things you want to do before you give them that big money, and it becomes hard to keep talent around them. They've kind of done that, and in a division that's not jumping with elite teams, but teams are getting better, but it's not, the AFC North with Baltimore and Cleveland and Cincinnati. You have an opportunity to really make this jump. Houston has done that this offseason. It's more just about those year 2 expectations, the hype. Will it be too much where their heads get too big, or will they be able to rise to the challenge? That's really my only issue with this team. Other than that, I think they're just as talented as almost anybody in the AFC. I think they've made the right moves. If you expect the jump from CJ Stroud, he's going to be amazing. You have Tank Dell, you have Stephon Diggs, you have Nico Collins. These are all guys that are pretty much elite at that wide receiver position, and CJ Stroud is going to be amazing. That defense is going to take a jump. You saw strides in the defense last year. It's really just the offensive line that's kind of not at where you want it to be. But aside from that, from a talent perspective, I don't really have an issue with Houston.
I feel like the fear with the Texans is that are they the Jaguars of last year, where everybody predicted the Jaguars to be number 1, nobody's going to threaten them, and then they choked down the stretch of the season. But with the Texans, I really don't have that fear. There are 3 major question marks I have with them. It's their rushing attack, if Bobby Slowick can find a way to get it more efficient. Their offensive line health. They were the number 1 most injured offensive line, and their most frequent combination only played 21% of the snaps. And then the other one is just the pass defense. They were middle of the pack last year, but they had an elite run defense. But I think having Danielle Hunter as an elite pass rusher, it helps your pass defense because he's getting to the quarterback quicker. The Texans, though, even though I've thought about it, hey, maybe is there potential for them to drop off? they just have an exceptional roster. They're building this team around C.J. Stroud the right way, and I think C.J. Stroud is a sensational quarterback, and he's truly one of the rarest quarterbacks that this game has right now to come in at such a young age and play at a high level. Most passing yards for a rookie in NFL history, youngest player in NFL history at the quarterback position to win a playoff game. He had the longest streak of not throwing an interception amongst any rookie quarterback in NFL history to start a career. CJ Stroud is historic. And I think that him and Jordan Love, I group them into two guys that they could be top 5 quarterbacks. I think CJ Stroud is that good. But the advantage the Texans have is that CJ is on his rookie deal. And the Packers just paid Jordan Love. Anything they lost this offseason, they gained. You lose Jonathan Grenard. Oh, well, here's Daniil Hunter.
Yep.
You lose Blake Cashman. Oh, here's Azeez Al-Shaair, who was one of the best run-stopping linebackers in the league. Anything they lost, they gained. You lose Noah Brown to a lesser degree. Here's Stephon Diggs.
Not bad.
The only thing that I don't think was an upgrade was Devin Singletary going from him to Joe Mixon. I know Mixon has a name value, but last year, Mixon, 37% success rate, 4 yards per carry, 10.5% explosive rate. Singletary was 36% success rate, 4.2 yards per carry, 10.6% explosive rate.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, King. Can you also pair that with the fact that Jake Browning was also in at quarterback? Defenses are selling out, thinking, hey, Joe Mixon's more dangerous right now than Jake is.
Yeah, no doubt. I think they're banking on Joe Mixon to get back to a level that he was at 2 years ago.
2021.
But even with Joe Mixon having Jake Brown as quarterback, and even before that Joe Burrow, last year the Bengals, they ran into a lot of light boxes. The amount of light boxes that Singletary and Mixon ran at were at the same rate. So both of them were not seeing a lot of bodies. But it's Joe Mixon, and that's a better name value than Singletary, and you didn't get him for much. And if you think even he'll be a marginal upgrade, I think that's what matters. But the two things that really have to be a concern for just Texans fans are, can we be able to rush the ball efficiently? So when we get into these playoff games, we can rely on another facet of our offense to be efficient. And also, will Eagles get involved in this? Because you have the Stephon Diggs factor, and we don't know what's going to happen. I think the preseason clip was blown out of proportion, but there's always room for that to happen. So we have to see if Stephon Diggs will be okay if Tank Dell has more targets, Nico Collins has more targets, because I don't think this team is going to try to force feed anybody. I think they're going to try to design what's best for the given defense. Whoever gets the ball, but they aren't counting that, and we'll see if Stephon Diggs is okay with it.
Yeah, you would think that getting traded to Houston hopefully had some conversation like, yo, we got Nico, we got Tank, we got Dalton Schultz. You probably aren't going to lead the league in targets or be top 5 like you have been basically every season in Buffalo. I think the questions surrounding the Texans are just a lot of the same questions you have for any team that breaks out of nowhere and then goes into year 2 with real expectations. Like you guys mentioned, the Jaguars are a perfect example of having this highly touted quarterback. You break out, everyone's expected you to take another step and win playoff games and be number 1 in the AFC and all of those things. I would say just from a personnel perspective, right, just taking out like kind of the outside noise and storylines, the real questions I have, like Drew mentioned and you, Joel, it's the offensive line and it's the running game, right? CJ Stroud is just so damn good. He almost has that Joe Burrow quality where the offensive line can be bad, but he's such a smart quarterback. He gets the ball out quick, and he has so many receivers who can win quickly on the outside that the pass blocking unit I'm not overly concerned about. The running back unit with Joe Mixon there, I agree, Drew, that having Jake Browning at quarterback is going to change things. But I also just don't think Joe Mixon's like an upper echelon type running back. I think he's like an average type running back, and the name value is right because Devin Singletary and Joe Mixon, in terms of efficient rushers, I think are really similar. I don't think Joe Mixon has this highly touted breakaway speed that could break a bunch of tackles and completely make guys miss and take 4 yards into 20-yard gains because he's juking guys out. He's not that type of running back, but we know how this offense is going to run. Going to run through CJ Stroud and these 3 wide receivers. You're expecting this pass rush to only get better, adding Daniil Hunter, Will Anderson going into year 2, Derek Stingley in the DB room, another year under his belt. You're expecting a lot of progression there. So it's a team that, as long as you live up to expectations, don't do what the Jaguars did last season, This is another team that should win the division. They should or be competing for the division because I think there's a couple of teams in there that can compete with them. Win a playoff game or two. It does feel maybe like, even though they're ranked higher than Buffalo and a couple of these other teams, it does feel like a Super Bowl might be a little bit too far because it's year 2 D'Amico, it's year 2 TJ Stroud. You typically don't see year 2 quarterbacks just go and make a playoff run, especially being in the AFC too. And the last thing I'll say about them, and then we'll move on to 6, and maybe we should cut it off at 6 because we're going to go 4 hours on this damn show.
You're cooking.
I do worry.
Not a bad idea.
I do worry. And you guys make fun of me for this all the time. I don't really care.
Dome
teams.
I knew it.
Dome teams. You got to go outside play in Kansas City. You got to go outside and play in Baltimore. You got to go outside.
They'll get the number 1 seed though.
And you could. And that's the last thing I'll say. It's just I always worry about teams that always play at home. They're used to this neutral environment. They're used to the good weather.
32
and then
domes.
you go out there and
I'm
you
with
play
32
in bad
domes.
environments.
See who's really like
I
that.
need 32 domes, no weather.
How about no
They
domes?
play the Super Bowl in a fucking dome or in nice weather. The one year, they decided not to play it in a fucking dome or in warm weather.
Are you implying CJ Stroud is a dome merchant?
No, I don't think so. But I think your offensive philosophy
the Super Bowl?
can change.
What's the Super Bowl?
The Broncos and Seahawks.
I was asking Riv, who
Why
cut
were,
me
you,
off.
why were you asking me?
Because that's the year that, of course, we play in the cold, and it was 43.
That's
to
why I got your ass.
one of the reasons.
So I don't think
Now we're gonna lose
Stroud,
anyway.
Riv, I don't think Stroud is dome merchant like Jared Goff
Yeah,
is dome merchant.
just the way you
but
came off, you know.
it was
the
snowing.
Texans are like, I think it'd be a pass first heavy offense through
We're here.
these 3 elite wide receivers. You go a game in Baltimore and in January, it's snowing, 30
Steph
mile an
is-
hour winds.
Steph is accustomed to that, Buffalo weather. So
What'd you say?
Stephon Diggs.
Oh.
So
Yeah,
he-
Stephon Diggs, the receivers are fine.
no,
Don't
he's-
call him Steph.
Yeah, I was like,
My
Steph,
fault,
what
bro.
the
It
fuck?
was, I'm used to,
We know that the most
I thought you said
popularized.
Neff, or CJ is your nephew or some shit.
That's
Neff?
not Neff. That's
Yeah,
little
you're
bro.
really young.
That's little bro.
Oh, yeah, facts.
That's little bro. It's little bro.
We know the most popularized defense right now is 2 high coverages, and CJ was number 1 against that last year. And on third downs, he had the lowest rate of sacks and interception percentage.
He takes great
rates.
care of the ball.
Yeah, so like in those situations, do or die, gotta have it. He's not taking negative plays. I don't know about you guys, but I got hot as hell out of nowhere.
I was farting like 20 minutes ago.
No, I could tell. Smells like a dog shit right
can't
into my
even smell
nose.
it.
I was deaf farting. I was like mute when I was
I've had to
farting.
piss legitimately for 2.5 hours.
Damn.
Here we go.
Well,
Last
if you
team and
can
we're out of
hold
here.
on a
Unless
little
you want
longer.
to just do top 6 next
Top
week.
6 next
Well, we
week.
could do top 5. We could finish
Just
with
finish
the Jets.
6. Finish 6.
And then we do top 5.
I just feel like the Jets, we know we're going to chat.
We are.
And I want to chat. I want to chat about the Jets.
Dude, is Riv and Drew really going to chat, or is it just going to be you and I?
We could chat about the
I
Jets
might
for
have been the
3
highest
more
on the
hours.
Jets out of all of us.
So are we going to chat? I'd rather chat.
I have to shit.
Okay, next episode, tough.
Let me ask you a question.
We've been doing. But this is like 4 today.
It's 3 hours.
You're the reason the Jets are at 6. Know that.
Why?
You had the Jets at 8.
I think I had
So?
the Jets. I had the Jets at 5 or 6.
I had the Jets at 3.
What's wrong with 8?
I had the Jets at 7.
What the fuck?
Wow.
See, look.
I thought you had them higher. Well, you never sent your list.
No, I didn't. You guys sent it to me.
said
And then
eight.
I did a cumulative.
You had them at
I saw
7.
yours at 8. I knew you had them. What'd you say?
5 or 6.
8 is crazy?
No.
Oh.
I only say that at 6.
I
You're
do
also
think
the
we